make sure.
There we
Right
go.
here, Bill.
We are
That thing will
on
be
now,
right,
sir.
it'll look right at you. There's two
We
of them
are.
actually. Okay, let's call the meeting to order of the Redevelopment Commission today, for the first reorganization list today. So, we'll start with Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'd like to start the meeting just by saying that everybody's present today. We have two new members. Former Mayor Bill Graham's here on the board now, and Linda Eubanks from the County Council. Carl Stout will be on audio over telephone. So before I get started, anybody got anything they'd like to bring up, or we just want to go ahead and get on the agenda?
Yeah, I'm gonna video, I want to video Carl too.
Pictures and everything. Yeah.
Actually, it's kind of weird, so everybody knows. I think when they had the COVID thing, they allowed everybody to do this video and all that. And then the last law I remember said you could do 3 a year telephone conversations or video, right? I mean, over the screen anymore, and you had to have a quorum present. So if he wasn't here and say a couple more of us was on the telephone, we couldn't have a meeting.
He doesn't count for a quorum because he's
Yeah.
not present
Yeah,
physically.
yeah,
So
that's
I
right.
thought he could still be on the
Hey,
phone.
hey,
He can
Bill.
only vote 3 times a year.
Hang on, Carl.
Let me say something to Bill.
Go ahead.
Bill just let me know ahead of time, time enough that I can get my makeup artist, lined up to come with me, okay?
Well, that's the way I felt, sneak in here and tell me I'm gonna be on video. I didn't even brush my teeth.
Now that's on video.
That's all
Here we
right.
go, there's one example.
So, well, anyway, we'll just move on then. It's looks like the first thing on the agenda is reorganization of the board, and as it is right now, I'm the president of the board. I was the vice chairman. So I'm going to open it up to anybody that'd like to make a nomination for the chairman of the board.
Well, John, I think you've done a great job, so I make a motion that you continue as chairman.
Thank you. Carl Iva made a motion for me to continue on as chairman of the board.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Passed unanimously. Thank you. Now we'll make the same thing for vice chairman. I was the chairman right now, and I'm going to agree with what she said so nice to me. That I think she's done a good job, step in when needed. So I'll let somebody else make a
I'll make the
motion.
motion.
Bill Graham made the motion. Need a second? I'll make the second. Did you hear that, Carl?
Yes.
It's Iva for vice chairman. Bill Graham made the motion. I seconded it. All in favor, say aye. Aye. I think that was unanimous. Okay, Iva will be the vice chairman. Now then, we're going to go on to Scott County EMS. Come on up, Nick. Mayor, I don't know if you know Nick Olick or not. He's the chairman.
But I've heard a lot about it.
Yeah, he's over the ambulance service out there. And I'll let him kind of update you on there, but been a lot of money back and forth out there, and he's there asking for some help on that. Is Karen Arlen on the phone today, if we need her?
No, she's not on the phone, but our TIF plan was amended to include support emergency services, including counties. So the plan, we can always make sure that we run this by her before it's brought to a final vote, because this is just his explanation of recent events and future requests. And then I'll have to advertise for any additional appropriations that you guys would direct me to advertise after this. So in the meantime, we can send this up and consult with her to just double down on it, make sure it is good. But I see nothing wrong with anything that he's got requested to be with what isn't within keeping of the TIF plan the way it is right now.
Thank you, Tammy. I didn't.
Karen Arlen, she's with Kennedy and Downs Associates, which is Buddy Downs Group.
I know
And
Karen Arlen.
yes, you know Karen, and she is our counsel that we retain and for services, and you'll get to see some of her work here in a few minutes that she's helped
I
us
know
prepare.
Karen. Seen her
Good.
work before.
That's
She
good.
kinda guides us through all this. She kinda guides us through all this when we have questions. Nick, if you would, just start from the beginning, so everybody will understand what you're here for, and what the money's been moved back and forth, and what you're here for.
So, for those that don't know me, my name is Nick Olick. I'm the director of EMS. I was the director at adjacent county for a few years. I worked here as a EMT and paramedic for 7 to 8 years, whatever it was, prior to taking that directorship somewhere else. In December 3rd, I think, was my first day back at Scott County. Prior to my arrival here, there was a lot of restructure and purchasing of stuff and whatnot, and we ended up selling one of the trucks that I think purchased in December of 20, is I believe when this truck was purchased. Reason being is we run 3 full-time trucks, and we had 6 trucks, and that is just, in my opinion, a bit excessive. We still have 2 reserve trucks, which I think is okay, because if one goes down, we move one forward, and that still leaves us one for an additional truck if something happens within the county. Since I've been here, we've ran 4 trucks, I think 12 or 13 times, so I mean, it's not uncommon, but it's not every day either, so I think we're where we need to be with vehicles. Anyways, earlier this month, we sold the truck for $195,000. The entirety of the truck, when they purchased it in December of 20, was through redevelopment. The reason I'm here is that money was obviously appropriated in 2020. We sold the truck to kind of help align some of our stuff. So I'm here asking for your consideration of having some of that money back to help do what we need to do out there to get this stuff straight. I've also, I know you guys already had a copy of this, I've also supplied you with 2 other sheets of information. One is a breakdown from 2021 and 22 of our financials, which would be the second page in your packet. And then the third stapled page is a breakdown of month by month for income and run volume would be the second page on there. The second page that looks like this one is probably the greatest breakdown to help you decipher improvement or non-improvement of where we are financially, but I'll let you make your own opinion on that.
Now, has this money been, the $195,000, has it been received?
We
Yeah.
received it just last week.
Okay.
The proceeds, everything's been paid in full, the money's been receipted. A
But it
little bit
hasn't-
went to county general because
Oh.
some of that came from CARES, the actual lift and stretch.
So we
the
received a
lift.
check for $209,000 because we sold a stretcher and an ambulance. 14,000 was for the stretcher. That went back to general because that stretcher was purchased out of CARES.
But
The
the lift wasn't
195,
fixed.
the 195 was affixed within there, so that went with the truck, and that's not something we could remove any longer.
But this
So
hasn't been advertised for appropriation?
No, he was bringing his
I wanted to bring
plan.
this plan before, that way you knew where I was at, what you agreed with, what you didn't agree with, and if there's anything I could explain further or give you information on before we went down that avenue.
And your actions be just to direct me to advertise the full 195 next month, because you'll be setting a meeting in May, and then you guys can take time to digest this and look at what he's requesting, and this striker, payment, the very first thing that he's listed
And I
is
can
an
explain that.
obligation, yes, that the county has to, medical supply equipment vendor, and it was due to, I will say this, we were left in a position where we were, going to make, 3 lease payments to Stryker?
So initially, there was like a balance of $900 and something thousand with Stryker, and none of it got paid.
Yeah.
A lot of the equipment was sent back. I think we were left with a balance of somewhere around 440,000, as I believe is where we ended up with the equipment that we couldn't return or were keeping.
And I think part of this 125 you're talking about goes back to that, doesn't it?
Yes, so
Yeah, help
we
pay
owe
that.
somewhere in that 440 range of it. We, right now, from our understanding, the chair or the commissioner's attorney, and I think Teresa, we currently have like a $32,927 credit with them. So we're gonna try and move that over there. But we pretty much, from my understanding, this happened before I came, but what was explained to me was that that balance of the 4 and change was, they were forced into either pay it now or sign a contract. I believe the decision was to pay that amount of money over the course of 3 years, which would put that payment at about $150 a year. However, that being said, that $150,000 payment was not budgeted in my budget this year. I had no part of the budget, but that happened after the budget anyway, so it would have been something that would have had to go back regardless. But right now, there is no, to my knowledge, you can correct me if I'm wrong.
There's no-
There is no plan of where that money is going to come from.
So this would be a great benefit to them. It's basically returning monies that you appropriated once for their use. This is in keeping with the TIF plan because it's pretty much all capital outlay or expenses associated with equipment or repairs of equipment. So
Correct.
we can, I think we can make
None
sure.
of it's medical supplies or.
No, it's not consumables.
Yes.
So I think we're safe in that aspect.
I will make a motion for you to advertise it as an additional appropriation
And if there's
for our
any,
May meeting.
and if there's anything on the sheet you would like me to explain as far as the breakdown, I'm more than happy to do that.
Cool.
If you'd like me
Second that
to.
motion.
I'm sorry.
I'd second that motion.
Okay. We got a motion, a second on the floor.
But just for comment,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
you got $150,000 to pay that was not budgeted. I think it's very important to get that money back.
It is. I wanna make sure what we're voting on. Are we voting on we're voting on the 195?
195,000.
That's what, you sold the ambulance,
Yes, sir.
which was bought by the previous director.
Correct.
And, and I see what you're saying too, because this thing was huge. And probably wasn't gonna get used very much.
And for what it's worth, the truck was great. However, there is no exaggeration, when it was parked in our bay, there was 2 inches of clearance between door to door.
Yeah.
So it was a very nice truck, but it was a nuisance to drive, if you will, and get stationed in there, and it was one of those that was consistently parked out back. We voted to sell that one. We have a 2016 out there that, you know, it's old, it's been used, and it's been ran, but it fits in our bay, it's easier to drive, there's not clearance issues like there was with that one, there's not the space either, but it's easier for us to use on the daily, so we voted to get rid of the biggest truck that was the hardest to use. And, you know, was still, it was a benefit for someone else to buy, because it still had a warranty on it, it still had a lot of things that, you know, you're gonna buy that before I try and sell you a 2016 with 120,000 miles in the warranty, so that's why we voted to go with that one.
So the motion was made by Ivan, second by Bill Graham, will allow us to advertise, and then we'll take a vote in May on it. Is that right?
Correct.
To actually do it. Did you hear that, Carl?
Yeah, I missed a little bit there, but,
Okay, we have the EMS director here.
right, and he's got $195,000 that he sold an ambulance for.
That's
And he
correct.
needs $150,000.
No.
No, not
Hearing
yet.
right?
No, it's
Not
two
yet,
different
Carl.
things.
Not yet. We're just going on. He's wanting to, us to vote to allow the auditor to advertise so we can vote on this $195,000 in our May meeting.
And I have,
Oh, okay.
did he get a copy of this?
Yes,
Okay.
he did.
Okay.
I sent it to him.
And what we have right on the now is right now is we have Iva made the motion to, move it on to, Tammy, and as Mayor Graham has seconded that motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I think that was unanimous.
Yep.
Unanimous, so that vote will be moved on for our
And
May
I'll have
meeting.
it advertised for May when we set that meeting, that'll be when I go by.
Is there anything on the sheet you guys would like explained? That way you have time to.
I would like you to explain it all.
Okay, so the first one we kind of went over. The 125 would be in conjunction with the $32,000 credit to Stryker. That would alleviate this year's first payment.
Could I ask, you know, what, for this kind of money, what does Stryker provide?
So Stryker has a very wide spectrum of products. What we purchased from them were monitors, our monitors that we have to have, stretchers, power load system, which is what the stretcher goes into in the truck, Lucas devices, which are the mechanical CPR devices, is there anything else? And AEDs, I believe, were purchased through Stryker.
And some of the accessories and batteries that.
Yeah, batteries and cords and cables and all the stuff that go along with those items. Like I said, initially, I think we were somewhere around the $900,000 mark, and roughly half of it did get sent back prior to me as well. I'm not sure what the structure, organization, or what they chose was, but half of that got sent back as a credit. Some of it couldn't be sent back because it was already in use, and some of it was legitimately needed because, like the monitors, for instance, they used to carry Philips monitors here. They were at an end of life in EOL, meaning they wouldn't be covered if there was any issues. So that was an expense that was going to happen regardless. So it's they're a very big proponent of EMS and fire equipment. They don't just provide one thing. It's a very broad spectrum of items, but most of it's the equipment in which we use on our trucks.
I'm gonna ask Tammy if you
This is
don't mind.
kind of a common practice amongst EMS,
What's that?
that they have somebody like Stryker.
Yeah, whether it's Stryker or Furno, those are the two big ones. Stryker is a subsidiary of Physio Control, which owns everything. Stryker is just the brand name of a certain aspect, but like Stryker can sell Physio products that don't have the Stryker name on it. But Stryker and Furno are your two big, that's pretty much who we have to choose from.
I think they make a lot of hospital beds.
Yeah, I mean, they-
Hospital.
And
I'm just asking, I think I ought to know some of these things, just.
Well, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask Tammy to kind of explain this. Where this gets confusing is this was all purchased through CARES money in different ways.
What's CARES money?
Well, we have ARP now, which is
Federal
Biden
government
put in
stuff.
federal money. And for that, President Trump had the CARES funds where he put it all out. And a lot of this was paid for through there, and I'll ask you to explain it, because it gets confusing.
Yes.
But basically, we got stuck with a bill. And
So-
this gentleman has
Big
been trying to get it back through our attorneys, so we don't pay as much.
We had FEMA anticipation, I'll call it. So FEMA dangled grant carrot sticks out in front of a lot of local agencies, a lot of government units. And we'll reimburse you up to 75% of COVID-related expenses. So back in the middle of 2020, the commissioners agreed to move money and got council to move the money from a remount line that was designated that year for an ambulance remount, and moved it to personal services and provided the third truck that Nick's alluded to. And that started in mid-2020. So with that assumption, a grant proposal was turned in by then EMS director, and FEMA rejected the proposal, and it included a couple of ambulances and a couple of chase vehicles the whole premise for that was to provide the PPE and the support, for these COVID-related runs. So if an ambulance was needed, you'd have it, and then if you needed just people to come assist with somebody who had COVID or whatever, they would have the chase vehicle that would have additional protective equipment and whatnot in it. So whenever FEMA took a look at our situation, unlike it's kind of opposite of how we work sometimes, FEMA said, we're not gonna give you capital outlay money. Redevelopment is all about capital outlay because we don't want to provide for consumables. But FEMA would rather have provided for consumables or manpower or things tied to a specific event rather than a capital asset that you could keep 3 or 4 years after COVID, because we didn't have any idea how long COVID would last.
They were big on immediate expenses.
Yes, so, protective equipment, gloves, disinfection, all that, they were all
Medications.
froggy about, so to speak, but they decided, nope, we're not gonna pay for that. Well, hope was built upon getting that money back, which would have alleviated the Stryker obligation. So it basically, time ran out, all FEMA would approve was man hours, premium man hours for COVID-related runs only. So that amounted to about $40,000 instead of the anticipated 75% of 2 ambulances and 2 chase vehicles. So, then there was the lease obligation then for Stryker, that some of the CARES money, which was federal money that was passed through the state, was sent to help EMS purchase ambulances and equipment that they needed. And then redevelopment was approached, and also a couple of ambulances were purchased from them, of which these proceeds are coming back. I think the original purchase was 200 and some thousand.
223.
And this, we're recouping 195, and we've had it roughly a
Year
year
and
and a half.
It was just shy of 30,000 miles on it,
So-
so we did fairly well on it.
So timing is great for this, because we recouped a whole lot more of the purchase price, the original purchase price. So, are we hurt by this deal? Probably not, other than we're in debt, which is not where we wanna be with capital outlay, but we're in debt, and this will help just basically move the money from being a vehicle purchase over to another capital outlay expensive equipment. So there were several things that needed to be, because cardiac monitors and some different things were out of date, and they were needing to be updated.
That was the monitors that we carry, which are the big boom box looking things. Those were EOL, meaning they had to buy something.
Who submitted the grant?
Actually, the former EMS director, worked on the grant, and I actually sent it to FEMA.
Well, not to knock anybody, but, somebody should have known what that grant was, what FEMA's requirements was for that grant. They should have known. To have bought a piece of equipment, that was to be paid for out of a grant. And the grant application did not match what they said the money's to be used for. It's not a good thing. And I'm not.
Oh, no, I was the person who uploaded it and
I
sent it,
understand,
correct,
but
yes.
if it was the previous director, he should have been very well aware that that money was not to be used for capital outlay.
And it's not, anything that we can go back and change or make anything different, but, we
No,
had several changes in the
It's not, but I
EMS
think-
department
I
at that
think
time
it's-
too,
I
so.
think we should learn
we
the
were-
lesson to make sure we know
Yes.
what those grants.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been one that said I believe in the golden rule, and that is, he who has the gold makes the rule.
Yeah,
And
this
if
is
you want
true.
their money, you better follow that
That
rule.
is true.
And I believe very strongly in that. So I would hope we as a board and whoever else, we understand that if you're gonna apply for a grant and you're not following the rules, don't count on getting that grant,
Yeah, this is
because you're
true.
probably not gonna get it.
I get.
In the meantime, our attorney took a hard look at it, and he's the one that worked out these payment plans to get this paid down, and like you said, sent at least half of it or back. And got
There
a
was
big
a
credit on
lot.
it all, which-
I know they started with 16 or 18 Lucases, and we have 8 now.
Yeah,
you
and
know,
all
so-
this stuff is needed, but if you haven't.
The
like you
items were
said, if
needed, I don't
the
know
cash
if the
ain't there,
amount
you
of
don't pay
items
it.
are needed, but the items themselves were, I just don't know to the extent of which we had, and, you know, that's not, everybody's got a different vision, and I'm not saying what they were trying to do prior was wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to,
Here it is for you, right? It's your job.
she yells at me every month to cut my budget, and I'm trying to, help that.
As I spoke to someone, before one of the meetings a while back, I said, the redevelopment board had every intention of supporting our county's EMS efforts because of the betterment of the citizens and their health. I said, nothing was on the board members' part at all, intentional. It was all for the good of Scott County, because I literally, whenever we could improve, and this board took the time to listen and tried to provide quality ambulances and quality equipment for the citizens of this county.
And the
I was-
ambulances were very
yeah.
much needed.
Yeah,
Definitely.
and then try to help mitigate the COVID need, they took the remount money to put extra people and a truck out there. So
What
during,
was remount money?
remount money is whenever they take an ambulance and instead of, and remount the,
The back of the
the
box,
box, the equipment box onto the, chassis of a new,
It's a cheaper way to get a truck. The problem is it can only be done so many times.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
So
but,
what we've got here is you're wanting to.
so we got the 125 for
Yeah.
striker,
Yeah.
15,000 is for, there's also another move that's in place to, right now I've got 2 3/4 ton trucks out there as chase vehicles. They do not serve the purpose well. They're not amazing on fuel and they're just not nimble. So, we're in the process of getting Durangos back like we've had here for years. The main benefit though is to benefit the highway department because the highway department can't get a hold of a truck right now to save their lives and they need a few. Luckily,
They were driving around in a little Colorado.
yeah, they've got a small truck.
Big
for
man and a little vehicle.
Yeah. So this benefits the highway department significantly more than it benefits us, just because we've got vehicles, we can use them, they're just not great, like for what we're doing. The highway department can't get a hold of a truck right now to save their lives. So we can get a hold of a Durango, they can't get a hold of a truck. So the move is to us, we already have one current Durango. We're gonna take the highway department's little truck, that's the Colorado, and then hopefully purchase one new Durango. My 2 3/4 ton trucks go to the highway department. With that though, I have to now light the new vehicles that we're getting because the light bars that are on the big trucks will not fit on little vehicles. It'll look like bat wings and take off and rip the whole roof off the top. So it is an expense, however, it's significantly cheaper than buying a new vehicle, so.
And didn't you say Light It Up was,
And Light It Up is working with us to trade in some of that product that we can't repurpose. We are repurposing a lot of the lights, like the smaller lights. We are repurposing every single one of those. We're repurposing radios, we're repurposing safes, we're repurposing anything that we can repurpose, we're repurposing. But some of the side lights, the top lights, unfortunately, those are the expensive, the really, really expensive parts. We do have to do something different with. But to light 3 vehicles, I've asked for 15,000 to light all of those. That includes, the reason that number might seem a little high is because not only do I have to install lights in 3 vehicles, I have to uninstall lights in 2 of them. So that is labor and cost of materials to strip 2 trucks and light 3 vehicles.
$5,000 per vehicle. Is that what-
That's what we're looking at. I think it's about $2,000 a vehicle to strip. So that's 4,000 of it, and we're looking at 4 to 5, at 3 to 4 to relight with repurposing some of that. The way it's gonna break down is the new one is gonna have a significant amount of new light purchases because we don't have anything to repurpose it. But the other 2 is where we're kind of shifting that, but we still have to pay the labor costs and everything.
And the commissioners are all aware of this,
Yes, sir.
agreeable to it.
And you're using local people as much as you can on all the work here.
Everything in
Yeah.
here is, yes, sir.
Yeah.
So Light It Up is here in town, and then 8,000 of it would be to, letter the vehicles, but that is 3 vehicles, that's not 1, for clarification, that is 3 vehicles. Again, that is stripping the highway department's logos off of that truck, the Colorado, and then re-lettering it with EMS, that's lettering hopefully the new Durango with EMS, and that is lettering that old ambulance that we've got. A lot of the graphics are peeling off of it. While the ambulance itself works, it does not look great on a presentation front, so I would like to re-letter that as
but
well.
we're not wrapping it?
We're not, it's gonna be the same as the new truck that we lettered, it's just the logo and the swirl, it's not a complete wrap, no. This is the same design that we've got on the one truck that I've designed here and our chase vehicle here. The $8,734 for Baxter Sigmas, those are IV pumps. The reason for those is we have to borrow the hospitals now because we don't have any, we have 0. We have had a few protocol updates since I've been here, some that require
Explain what the Sigma.
the IV pump. So it's, so when we administer fluids to people, we have a roller clamp, if you will, that is a guesstimate of how much fluid you're getting. There's certain medications we administer you don't guess on. like you need an exact amount. So what the pump is something we put tubing in, we press, it's this medication at this amount, at this rate, and it gives the precise measurement over whatever amount of time. Right now, we have to borrow the hospitals. So I would like to get 2 per truck. That is for a total of 6. That is not 1, that is a total of 6, because that would be 2 per truck for my main trucks. The $11,000 for the ventilators, that was initially in the budget for last year to roll into this year. However, again, when budget cuts came by, that was one of the first things axed. Right now, we run 3 full-time trucks, but we only have 1 vent. So that thing has to bounce between trucks. If one truck's using it, we can't do another run because we don't have another vent. So that is to get the equipment of ALS ventilators on all 3 trucks. The 1589 is for a cross-section innovation head. The council, I think 2 months ago, approved the paramedic program to be advanced because it was a use it or lose it type scenario. So we've done that. That piece of equipment is needed for that class, and it would just benefit to come out. Same thing with the 659 below it. It's a neonate innovation head. It's for the paramedic program. And the last thing is the $6,000 to Anderson Sales and Service. This is an unfortunate request. Through the whole prior administration, they had purchased a Kubota
Four-wheeler.
UTV type deal. They utilized a salt spreader on the back for our parking lot, which is not a bad idea. The unfortunate part is no one cleaned the salt after the salt spreader was utilized, and it is rusted through the drive shaft and transmission shafts in the Kubota. So that thing goes 6 miles an hour, and that is it. So I hate having a $25,000 paperweight out there because, and I will say, in no disrespect to the highway department or city or anything, we are kind of on the outskirts of where they plow, and the Kubota is very convenient for us to be able to do our own landings and stuff because, you know, I'm sure the highway would much rather clean the road than our parking lot. So it's not a bad idea to have. It was in my opinion, it was a really good idea. It was just unfortunately
Wasn't taken care of.
poorly executed.
Yeah.
So that final thing is to send that over. We did get a quote 3 months ago. We paid $125 for them to get an estimate, and they came back with anywhere between $48,000 and $6,000. So they won't know the exact thing until it's tore apart. So I went on the high end. That is worst case scenario. It could be less than that, but that's just where we're at. And then, as you can see, there's $18,875 for you to consider for future uses. I don't know what it could be, but I'm sure something could come up. And I just wanted to put that in there, but again, I would be fortunate enough for you guys to consider anything or all of it that's on here, just because I don't feel like there's anything on here we're asking for that's for frivolous usage. I mean, this is all stuff that would get used, and as you can see, a majority of it is trying to balance prior purchases that I'm now responsible for, so.
That's
where we're at.
basically what the $195,000. You're not asking for that today. That's what, when
This is my-
this is appropriated, that's what you'll be using it for.
Correct.
If we
This
vote for it.
is my plan to where if you would allow me to have that 195 reappropriated back to me, this is how I would like to use it.
And then the auditor's function in this would be, should you appropriate next month? We've got this list.
Mhm.
If there's something that needs to be modified or changed, then Nick would come back to the board and modify the plan, because when you approve this and you approve his plan of spending, then that's what we're gonna go by to audit his claims that he presents to us to be paid against your project line in this budget.
And if it's
Okay?
less than, like the $6,000 to Anderson's, if it
Yes.
comes back as 5, we're still good because
You're
it's
still
less
good.
than the allotted amount, correct? Okay.
So that will be how it's
I need to
audited,
know what
yes.
Now, if we vote for this and some of the stuff is less than that, does that come back to the
It stays in the
redevelopment, or
fund.
does it stay?
It just-
Will he have to come back to us to use it?
Yes, if he modifies from the next May, or this May, I should say next month. If he comes back and he says, oh, look, I decided I can afford this, but I'm gonna change it after this, then you guys are gonna approve his spending plan along with the appropriation. So that's what we're gonna audit by.
But this, if I get the whole
But this is what
195, this green amount would grow by whatever
It
the
would
difference
grow.
is, but I'd still have to come back and say, hey,
Yes.
I've got $25,000 here and I'd like to use 5,000.
The extra's not à la carte.
And we feel confident.
That'd be nice.
We feel confident Karen Arlen's good with all this.
Again, this time frame between April and May, I'll send his plan before this is at, and then you guys can act on it in May, so.
So she'll
I will
approve it
send-
before it gets to us.
I will have her review this for her
Okay.
opinion to make sure it complies with your TIF plan. I seen, again, my opinion doesn't mean a whole lot, but it seems in keeping with your current TIF amendment that you had for the northern TIF district, not central. Has nothing to do with central, this is northern money only,
Trial.
trial area, yes.
And by the way, your opinion is very
Oh, well,
important.
thank you, John. No, I
I've used
appreciate
it
it.
so much in here, I couldn't have got by without you.
Well, I
But this,
appreciate
this
you. Thank
money stays in our fund,
Yeah,
and he has to turn in
Or
claims to
you-
be spent out of this.
yeah.
So if he doesn't turn in a claim, then it just stays
Stays
there.
there.
Yeah, he don't get a check for $195,000.
No, I just use that as a line item when I do
Yeah.
claims, correct?
Correct.
So it'll sit in the redevelopment until he uses it. No,
It's
we're doing is
basically, yes.
allowing him to make those requests, to make the funds available.
When Nick receives an invoice, if you guys approve this, he'll bring it to me, and then we'll create a claim, and it'll be, I'll look at it against this list, because you're gonna approve his spending list like you did the times before, and the project has to stay within keeping of what you've approved. So this itemized list is gonna be your all's agreement, so to speak, of
Of
how he's
max.
going to spend these funds with the maximum amount allowable. If it deviates, he's got to tell you guys about it, and you've got to agree or disagree. Okay,
Makes sense to me. And we don't really need to do anything else. We've done made our vote.
you've done your, yes,
You've
you
explained
already
it to us very well.
Yeah.
completed that.
Thanks, sir.
No problem, thank you.
Nick,
Unless anybody else wants to.
And I'll let you
Yeah,
know in
thank you.
May.
Done a very
Hey,
good job.
I got a question.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
Carl.
I don't have a problem with the 109, he generated that money on
Yeah.
195,000.
Yeah.
But I heard him say that the council acts, one of these, I think it was the $8,000 or $11,000, was that the one that they axed?
That was a decision by the prior administration to cut when the council asked departments to cut budget.
Okay, why is the redevelopment committee involved in replacing something that the council axed?
It's not being replaced, it would be being I mean, I guess that's a thing of semantics. That is a good question, it is,
Well, I'd like to know how much profit did EMS generate last year?
0.
0. This is not replacing
Pardon me?
the council did
It's
not
Iowa
have,
speaking.
the council did not have the money to fund this.
We do.
Well, does that mean that whatever, the question I got, does that mean whatever the council decides not to fund, that the redevelopment
I don't
committee
think,
is supposed to fund it?
Not supposed to, but we can.
You can, that's
Yes.
legal, right?
Well, and I'm saying yes,
yes,
when Tammy's going to send it down to Karen Arlen and make sure we're all in order on this, but I think the answer is yes.
and I wanna make.
I'd like to know.
And I want to make something clear. It wasn't that there was a line item that said ventilators in our fund. It was a line item that said equipment in our fund that was going to be appropriated for that. So it wasn't a specific item, but that was a line item of, it was needed, but not an immediate necessity, if that makes sense. That was because our budget is, contrary to belief, is actually very, I know our budget is big, but it is very tight. Like, I have a matter of singular dollars in leeway in personal expenses as far as payroll. So that is one line item that wasn't dependent on the services happenstance of running, that we could unfortunately cut away from because it was something that didn't deal with the day-to-day. Like, I can't cut day-to-day expenses of personal expenses or utilities or medical supplies.
Right.
This was one item line that is needed, but not a necessity, if that makes sense.
And we're not voting on it today, we're just.
Correct.
Oh,
we-
no, I
yeah.
know we're not, but we're going to at some point.
Yeah, absolutely, and I was gonna, if Lindy don't mind, do you remember all this, Lindy?
You-
Exactly why it
you know,
was,
You can put stuff off, you know, you can delay anything you want to.
yeah, absolutely,
But at some point in time, you're
Yes.
gonna have to vote on it.
yes, and I'm asking Lindy, she's on the council, Lindy Hubank, she's on the board here with us.
Well, I wanna know when EMS is gonna make a profit.
when he,
Well, let's go back to this
He
appropriation
wants
you
to
was
know when
asking.
EMS is gonna make a profit.
well.
Same.
Hopefully soon.
We're all.
I hope so too,
Yeah.
but
Nick,
redevelopment is not to prop up the county expenses.
no,
Lindy speaking now, hang on.
when we looked at the budget and we had to start cutting, we were looking at, things within line items that he could do without. Now, this was not something that I don't believe he was gonna come forth and ask for in the future, knowing how tight the budgets were. But when he was able to sell this ambulance, this is giving him a little bit of leeway to get something that is needed, but was, that we were able to cut, that we were able to take away and cut when we were looking at budgets. So this isn't something he was gonna come back and ask for this year, but with the sale of this ambulance, it's affording him to be able to take that 195 that was essentially allocated by the redevelopment board 2 years ago and say, hey, this is something that we need. We do have the money. It should, I believe, fit within the parameters. And so he's able to do this. So it's not that redevelopment's funding something that the council said we're not going to. It was, had to.
Yeah, the financial issue.
Financially, we had to. As far as when will EMS make a profit, I believe that Nick is doing,
You're working on it.
he's working on it and he's doing a pretty amazing job right now. And so I do believe that, we will see a profit here.
It won't be overnight, but
Yeah,
we're on the right
I
track.
hope so, you know, I'm hoping for that, that's not my point here, you know.
Yeah,
And I don't think this was anything that the council said, no, we don't want you buying this either.
Yeah, no,
I think
was not
it's-
the
No,
case.
I know that, I know they didn't.
So
say
he's
they
not
didn't
in
want me
conflict
doing
with
that.
council
You know,
about asking for
And
this.
he's got the money to do it, it's, everything's legal,
yeah.
you know, with the
Right.
195,000, that's not my question. My question is it legal for us to do that?
And when you.
And I'm gonna fly this again by Karen, now that I've got this list. I'm going to send this to Karen, and then she'll review it against our current TIF plan in the northern TIF district. And she
Okay.
can go line by line and say, this'll work, this won't work,
Okay.
okay? So I will have it reviewed.
Pardon me?
I will have it reviewed.
She's gonna have a review to make sure we're doing things correct.
Well, I couldn't hear.
Tammy says she's gonna have Karen check it out and, make sure we're doing it properly.
I'm sure she will.
Yeah. She takes after her dad, right? Okay,
Any other questions?
I have none. Anybody got anything else?
Anybody have any questions about the financial stuff I gave you, or?
I would like to make a comment.
Yes, sir.
I've always been proud of our EMS for the service that they have provided.
So you're saying the income today is the 549,000?
And I'm very proud of our first responders from our different fire departments. The Scottsburg Fire Department speaks very highly of them.
Thank you.
I think they're very good first responders, but I was proud to hear them speak so highly of you, so.
Thank you.
You know, in the
Yes.
past, the goal was always just to keep it off the taxpayers' back. And I think we're heading that direction, even though we're still have to have help, but,
The problem is we've got different goals than we had 5 years ago.
yep,
Right now, the goal is to make a dent in what we're down. I know when I came here, I think we were like negative 700 over the last couple of years, which has never happened before. You know, and one of my main concerns when I came here is I left a place that I had already fixed to come to a place that I had to fix again. And that was one of my things, was what are your expectations of progress here? Because we're not going to make our budget plus $700,000 in a year or 2 years. It's not gonna happen. So that was one of my biggest concerns, is a realistic time frame of this improvement. And, you know, as long as everybody there is on the same page, and you know, the problem with EMS is it is a necessity. I mean, it's just like fire and police. The one thing that we do that fire and police don't do is we do make a profit, or we do have income. The unfortunate part of it is it's based on our run volume. Today we can do 25 runs, and tomorrow we can do 2. And that's the unfortunate aspect of it. But Devon and I, this is my deputy director for those that don't know her, she spends countless hours a day making sure that our runs are billed to the best of our ability. There's some stuff we've got in place with vehicle insurance and stuff now to make sure we're collecting more. Her and I stay on top of runs that need fixed literally every day. So we don't have that. I know when I first came here, there was 72 in one and 160 in another bank of runs that weren't billed. I mean, that's thousands upon thousands of dollars. So the most we've had sitting at anything given time, I think, has been 9. So we're doing what we can to get there. It's just going to take time.
And I can attest to the receding of that. I mean, the income that's starting to generate now, and be receded on a monthly basis, has had an uptick. Again, researching that out, whether it's uptick in runs or uptick in billing, but that's delayed. So that tells me it's things that have happened a couple of months ago. And another thing, you know, it's a slow process, but we're hoping also, because we've had a lot less workers' comp situations as well, the county as a whole. I mean, we're very diversified. Our workers' comp rate is terrible.
Talking about it.
And
Stop.
but we will make improvements, and I think we'll see cost savings down
Yeah,
the
there's-
line.
We don't talk about
Yeah.
that type of stuff in insurance. It just-
Yes,
But,
so
yeah.
we should see
That's
cost
all we're
savings.
Some of our expenses may go down.
That's why we're on video, you voted for it.
No, I'm talking, it's kind of like the full moon type deal, you just don't talk about it.
Don't jinx this, don't
Don't
jinx
jinx it.
Yeah.
But on this page, it's a comparison from January to March, from 20, 21, and 22, just to see where we were at in 20, we were at in 20, and where we're at this year.
So you've got the 549,000
That we brought in
income, but what is the expenses for the same period of time?
496, I think, is the last I looked.
So you are bringing more.
Our cash ledger's grown about $100,000 this year,
Yeah.
if that tells you anything. So, I mean, the expenses, the unfortunate part is our expenses are, we're not spending a whole lot of stuff on frivolous things. I mean, it's medical expenses, payroll, and consumables of the station, of cleaning products and paper towel and toilet, like.
And those aren't getting
fixing-
cheaper.
Yeah, no, and that's the problem.
And
is-
fuel's not cheaper.
And our biggest problem, and I've expressed this to her, is our medical expenses are not going down. 3 years ago, a box of gloves was $15 to $20. A box of 100. Now they're 40.
And it's not just that, it's being able to get it, and so when you can't just buy 1, 2, or 3 boxes. You
Yeah.
have to get what you can when
Yep.
it's available.
Instead of buying 3 or 4 boxes, I'm buying 3 or 4 cases just so I know I've got them. So instead of
Right.
spending $300, I'm spending 3,000 because I can get them. So, but I appreciate you guys listening to me.
Nick, I'd like to ask another thing.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's important, as being a new member, we can know some of the history. But I understand, from what was said, you were able to send half the stuff that was contracted under Stryker back.
Yes, sir.
Hadn't been used, some of it hadn't even been opened.
Who owned it? I mean,
We-
who made the contract or whatever? I don't
It was,
understand.
that is the confusing part, and that's what she was explaining a while ago. It goes back to the CARES Act, and it just is confusing, I'll tell you that. But our attorney got involved and worked out an agreement where we would keep what we thought we needed and, send
couldn't
back
be
the rest,
returned.
or couldn't be returned, but yet we gotta pay for it. And it's, how much you say we still owe altogether?
464, 446.
Part of that is a payment he got.
I
But
understood,
you kept
I
equipment.
understood that
Yes,
part.
yeah, like we kept 8 Lucases, we kept 8 monitors, we had stretchers, like we do,
So I
what we
told
owe
you
is what we
that.
have.
Yeah.
It's just, initially, there was a lot of stuff ordered, like, we
Shouldn't
kept,
have been.
Probably.
that's open to interpretation, and I don't wanna speak on that,
No,
but,
you don't have to.
I would not have ordered it.
I understand.
It's like one of them good, you know, there's a lot of good intentions, but,
Yeah, and the idea was there,
unintended
but
consequences, yeah.
the execution
Get
just,
up to
Yeah.
$450,000.
Yeah. And we're having to,
we're trying out there.
and we're paying for, I think most of it we needed though, didn't we? It's
Yeah,
just
like
we
I said,
didn't
the
have
monitors
cash.
we had to have, the
We didn't have-
monitors,
Yeah,
the monitors are 30, I think with everything are about 34 or 36,000 a piece, and that was something they had to have because the other ones were end of life, like, there wasn't
Part
no
of
way
this,
around that.
Nick, you're trying to dig out of
A hole while make money,
$700,000, but everything you're buying
it's costing more.
is 3 to 5 times more than what it
Definitely.
used to be.
Yes, sir.
And, I think we all have to take that into consideration too, but in long-range projections, we gotta try to figure out where that money's gonna come from.
Yes, sir, I agree.
And I hate that our county council person left.
I think she'll be back.
Huh? Yeah. But, you know, it's just gonna take more money.
more money.
And then,
No, what I was saying is, if things have already gone up 3 to 5 times of what it used to be, and we've all seen that in everything, you know, see their own household. But then, somewhere or another, more money is gonna have to be appropriated
Over.
to meet those.
But if you don't have the cash, you can't appropriate.
I understand, I'm not saying that. You can't appropriate something you don't have, I know that. But it needs to be kept in mind, that's gonna happen.
Oh, he doesn't let me forget it.
Hmm?
He doesn't let me forget that.
and the
He tells-
council's working really hard to bring the funds in line.
I'm not knocking anybody,
I know, I'm
I'm
teasing.
just saying about the future planning that we need to look at it, and they need to.
We're trying.
I'm not picking on you, I'm just,
Oh, I know.
And I'm sure the council's trying to keep them off the tax rolls
Sure.
too, so they've
Sure.
got to stay within
That's the goal.
income.
That's the real goal, profits.
It's
The
just got,
second.
it has to be a not long term, but it's not an immediate goal that's gonna happen overnight, cause I mean, we are on lit money right now.
Yeah,
We have been for 2 years now, this is the 3rd one, so we're just, you know, if I can reduce that lit dependency by 100 or 2 a year, that's progress to me. I mean,
yeah.
the more you make, the less you're going to come in here.
yep, so, but I appreciate everyone, does anybody else have any other questions?
No, sir, Nick, I appreciate it. Vanya, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution and agreement regarding the refuge. I'll let you go first, Tammy.
All right, before you in your packet is a redevelopment commission resolution. I haven't numbered it, yet. You guys will digest this here because the refuge hasn't gotten back with me yet on their board. It's interpretation, so this will probably be signed in May as well. Karen Arland with Downs and Associates, has drafted this agreement. She's done a really good job of capturing the essence of the redevelopment commission in regards to their relationship with the refuge, which is the children's safe haven located in Austin. You guys have supported them on a couple of different occasions. This has not anything to do with the first leg of your support, but the second, that you agreed upon, that amount was encumbered because we knew we had this contract coming up with them. So the funds are in place for this second distribution to them. This is getting the agreement on how we'll deal with this, because as you know, redevelopment has to deal with capital outlay expenses. We don't give grants. We can't pay the refuge unless we have an agreement and a contract between them. The resolution outlines your side of it, and the educational program agreement deals with our relationship and how we deal with the refuge, because they will pay their educator director and we will reimburse them. Otherwise, we cannot give the refuge a direct payment. This will be in reimbursement. And so these documents outline that whole process. So take a look at these. If you've got any questions, get back with me. I'll relay those to Karen, or hook you guys up with her phone number so you can talk to her directly if you have any questions. But these will be up for consideration to adopt and pass the agreement in May when you set your meeting with the refuge, because this will again outline how the auditor's office deals with making distributions to them.
So have you talked to him about this?
Yes, I have, and I have sent this to them, and they're to take it to their board, and if they're agreeable with this, then they'll sign the document and bring it back for us to take a look at in May.
Is this a one-time thing, or is this
Yes.
or is this like a yearly?
It's a one-time
But
distribution.
they can come back though and ask.
I know,
Yeah,
I didn't
yeah,
know
this one.
if you guys, when you said agreed on previously, if this was like a.
We did a capital outlay directly to their contractor, so we paid, Latco, Selby House for, up to a certain amount. And then this is for the admin side, because of the Department of Child Services, they have to have an educator, a director, those type of things in place. And this outlines our relationship so they can ask us to reimburse them for those expenses. And they agreed for the $100,000 support for that, and then that's the only, this is basically finishing that business that we had left over from 21.
And I asked the same question, is this gonna happen again? He said, could.
This
That'd
is,
be our decision though, yeah.
Right.
but according to what we've been
This is
told,
finishing what you guys
started, yes, and there's no new offer or
Last
request
year.
on the table.
Actually, we've already voted, this is.
Yeah, we
whatever
voted.
you make
Yes, and the
it.
funds are encumbered,
Yeah,
so
it's
we're
just a
good.
matter whether
Yeah.
So what is this?
you're going back to what we got, we legally.
This is, yes, finishing and how I
Oh,
can
this
distribute
is
what we've
waiting for them
encumbered.
to say
Yeah.
that this
Yes.
is.
And the refuge
This
is,
is okay.
in Austin, right across from City Hall.
Refugee.
You know what it is, you've been in, okay, so you know what we're talking about then.
They've got to sign.
So they're asking basically for some operating money.
Interlocal.
But just note how Karen did a really eloquent job of tying in the educational and cultural building aspect of why a redevelopment would even invest in this particular type of endeavor, and I think she did a really good job with that. And I think this is why you guys did that. So she did, like I said, amazing job, I think, writing that up.
Do we need to do anything today?
No,
This
just
is
look
just the
at it.
information that's
and
coming at us.
It'll be back in before you in May.
Okay,
And then you can adopt your resolution, and if they agree with the terms of this, I don't wanna do anything till they are okay with it, because it won't do much good if they don't sign it, so.
But who has the final decision on it? They don't, do they?
Well, no, they're looking at their side of the agreement, but you guys still have the final decision on this arrangement.
Right, but this is that that last $100,000
Yes.
that we gave them, right?
These are the terms for use of that last 100,000 that we've,
It's nothing but a paper trail for that $100,000
Yes.
so you can reimburse them, right?
correct, for the agreed expenses between.
For
Yes.
for the educational part of it.
Yes,
Is that right?
correct.
Okay.
all righty. Anything else on that one then, Tammy?
No, we'll see
So
it again.
basically it goes on to the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. Next on the agenda, Corners Project, additional appropriation, $30,000. That would be the new Corners office going out to hospital.
If you look at your paper, it kind of explains it why in short order. You guys had moved in 2021, 35,000 and 15,000,
Yes.
a total of 50 to support that project. It came in under that amount. unfortunately, we missed encumbering the 35,000. And if we only need basically 30, 27, 28,000, whatever you wanna make your motion for, and I'll advertise again in May to put that money in place.
And this
So you tell me-
this isn't an additional, this is what we've already done.
This
but
is
we're
again a
putting it
repeat
back.
of,
Yeah,
yeah, a repeat deal.
Yeah.
So this covers, we need $27,617. So I can advertise 28,000 or whatever for the May meeting. I just want to explain why we're redoing this, is because we didn't have it encumbered from last year. And so we've got to reappropriate funds you've already agreed for to be in place. So I will advertise the 28,000.
So do they have this coroner stuff done?
The construction
Yes.
part is finished, but
It
we're
is.
waiting for a state engineer release, aren't we, on certificate
Yes.
of occupancy, and then it's good to go.
that's
What is
true,
it? Where is it? What is
It's
the border?
located inside Scott Memorial.
the very back,
Hospital.
be on the northwest corner, very back. Ambulance will actually come in the back side and park in their little walkway right into it there. It's all set up, it's ready to go, we just don't have the.
That's, I don't know what I wanna call it. You gotta have where you go in and put bodies in
Yeah,
freezer.
morgue.
we've got the.
We got coolers.
Yes, I'm sorry, yeah, the corner. It's all set up, it's ready to go, we just gotta get the engineer to approve it.
This has been going on for 2 years.
So,
Mhm.
yeah,
This has been going on for 2 years.
2 years. And we can go all the
Do we have any
details.
reason to think that the engineer or the state for the, certificate of occupancy is gonna cost? Are they gonna come back and,
We already
We
paid.
paid for those fees
Yeah.
up front. They were part of what we paid, the contractor. So we already have incorporated that in with, but as far as I know, I don't anticipate, haven't heard any additional costs. But if you want me, I'll advertise for whatever you want me to, but it was
the way it's-
35 initially, but it came in under budget, so,
I'm just thinking the way that it's been going,
yes.
that 30 would be appropriate,
Okay.
just in case.
I agree.
That
I'll
there's
advertise
anything.
30.
'Cause
And
it
that's
has
still
not gone
5,000
smoothly.
less than you guys
Right.
originally.
It just
yeah.
hasn't gone smoothly.
I was
Yes.
awful disappointed we didn't already have that engineering thing done. I thought that was gonna be done months ago.
Who's the engineer?
Grimes, is that his name? Latco uses them a lot.
Oh,
I think it's a Grimes, but I'm not sure. We talked about it a year ago, I thought that
Can we
was.
not put some pressure on Lincoln Taylor to get that done?
Well, he's done his part.
No, but
Seriously, that's what we're here for Lincoln, or for Latco. Yeah, he could probably make a phone call and say, hey, what's the waiting on here? Yeah,
we need you to make a phone call.
right.
yes, sir.
Exactly.
Yes,
This
sir.
guy jacked up.
I agree with that. We need to get this done. So, once again, this is just for information. Is that correct, Tammy?
Correct.
Okay.
And then I'll just advertise, and well, that'll be another decision
Okay.
in May.
So we're winding down now. Consideration of minutes for the November 17th, 21 meeting. That's how long since we've had a meeting. So I don't know if everybody's had a chance to look at the meeting, minutes.
Wasn't too lengthy.
Yeah. And, if you want to take a minute to look at them before we vote on
Not gonna vote on
I
it.
wasn't,
it.
it
I
doesn't have
need,
anything to do with me, so. I wasn't here.
yeah, you wouldn't be. That's why you wouldn't. I just need a motion to either, accept the, minutes from November 17th or ask for any corrections.
Carl, you need to make that motion.
Carl, it's your turn. Make a motion.
I make a motion, we approve them as read.
All right, need a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. All in favor, raise your right hand and say aye, please. Aye. Unanimous, I think.
I didn't raise mine.
Well, too bad. I think you did. I could see it through the phone.
And he's got good eyes.
All right, thank you. And, next thing on the agenda is set our annual meeting in May.
And that's when Baker Tilly comes down and gives us their TIF report. I have to make notification to the overlapping taxing units. Jason has provided me with some days that he's available. If we can't do this and can't get him down here, we'll still have to have our meeting in May. We'll just have to delay the annual meeting until
And
he can get down here.
If all
So
else fails,
what
he could do a
days?
video conference or something, couldn't he?
And maybe, but I'm not for sure if he can do that or not.
Okay.
on that, but I have to note, cause I have to notify the overlapping units, and they can be here at this meeting as well, because it has, it's a TIF impact report.
Yeah,
So he's available, he says May the 12th, the 16th, the 17th in the morning.
I will be in Maryland on the 12th.
Okay, let's go to the 18th, the 19th, the 20th.
Either one of those.
As long as they're in the morning.
Well, Scottford's graduation is 20th.
She's a junior, so I'm good. But I'm just, cause she has softball, so afternoon during softball season doesn't, I mean, I'll do whatever we
I'm
need
like
to
you,
do.
I gotta look things, Bill.
If we could.
Mhm.
I'm like you, I gotta get the phone out.
Yeah.
Everett Allen.
18th or 19th, say 11.
Okay, the 18th is a commissioner meeting day, that's probably not real good for me
So
and
the
John.
19th,
The 19th,
and you'll be stressed out after it.
yeah,
Commissioners
I stay up so late.
When do you come
say,
back from
yeah.
Maryland?
The 13th.
You stay up late.
Did you say
Oh,
the
I think the
16th?
commissioner meetings, they don't get home.
16th would be a Monday.
Did you say the 16th is a day?
The 16th is a day, but she's in Maryland, I think. We can
Let's
do
see.
the,
Oh, I thought you said you came back the
We
13th.
can do a Tuesday morning one.
do we like Mondays, are they bad? Mondays, are they bad for people? The 25th is available with Jason, that's a Monday, the 25th.
Suits me.
Wait, what?
Monday the no, I said that wrong.
No,
I'm
that's,
in April again, hang on just a minute, my calendar switched on.
Wednesday's the 25th.
Wednesday the 25th, okay, that's, Monday's the 23rd, he's got that one open. The 24th and 23rd, 24th and 25th and 26th and 7th, so evidently that's just a
So
big
that
week
whole
there.
week,
Yes,
I'm good, whatever works for the rest of
either,
it.
any day.
I can't do it the 24th, but 23rd, 25th, 26th, 27th I can do.
I can do the 25th, but I'll be in Chicago.
she's a traveler.
I know, it's what you can do when you're tired.
Do we wanna do May the 25th? That's a Wednesday.
That's,
Yes.
Mornings are better?
if
Yes.
possible.
I agree.
11 a.m., 10:30, 11 a.m.
It's
That sounds
10:30
good.
works
That's-
pretty good, doesn't
Oh,
That's
okay,
the
yeah.
afternoon.
it? You good? Either way, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
30 or
It goes a
11 is
couple
the
hours.
afternoon.
Whatever you
Get
got.
through lunch.
Whatever works.
10:30.
10:30, and then we'll be done for lunch, right? So let's do May 25th at 10:30, I'll double check with Jason. And if there's something different, I'll let you guys know.
Yeah, Bill probably needs to get a
Mm-hmm.
email address from us, doesn't he? Does
He
everybody on the board have one?
told me
County?
texting him, calling him's
Okay.
better. We
Okay.
already,
All right.
I had Lisa talk to you, so
Okay.
so,
I'll make- So you can communicate with everybody and see if that works.
yes. I got everybody in my email except him, which he said he likes text better.
I got you, text.
All right, unless you notify us different, we'll go for May.
May the 25th at 10:30 a.m. for your annual meeting and follow up to all the business left undone today.
All right.
That's good.
Okay?
Unless anybody has something else, I'll ask for a vote to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn by Iva, need a second. Carl?
I'll second it.
Bill Graham second, you're too late.
I'm too late.
I'll give in to you.
All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Bill, I love him anyway.
Yeah, you love him anyway.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.